his shoes starts now.
Jen Berman, should Tiger Woods, do you think, come clean and do exactly what Steve Phillips has?
Well, absolutely, but I also think that, well, I'm a huge believer in the 12-step program and all of the 12-step philosophies. I think it's very interesting how all of a sudden every celebrity who gets caught having an affair is suddenly jumping into sex rehab. And I think I'm a little skeptical of every single one of these celebrities suddenly saying, I'm a sex addict.
Yeah, it's a PR mop. That's all it is these days. I mean, there's a huge difference, I think.
PR mop.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between genuine addiction. You talk about the Michael Jackson story just before, in the top half of the show. Here's a man who's literally anesthetic to sleep, is on so many prescription medications. This is the genuine face of addiction. Having an affair because you can is not the same thing as addiction. And using that as a broad brush to paint all these affairs with, I think cheapens real addiction and lets, somebody who's just being an idiot get off scot-free.
Well, Amy Palmer, though, listen, what do you think? Because 14 mistresses is what Tiger Woods allegedly has that we know of, okay? Now, that's I think, compulsive pathological behavior. I don't think that's just somebody
That used to be called Warren Beatty.
Well, you know what? You raise an interesting point. I mean, there is kind of this double standard in Hollywood, Amy, where, who was it? The sports star who said he had 1,000 affairs? Will Chamberlain.
Look at Gene Simmons.
And everybody applauded. It seemed like he put it in his book and he was bragging about it. And it's almost like that was like maybe what another era allowed. And this era is not as tolerant of that kind of behavior, so people then fall into the I'm a sex addict.
Right. It's a PR mode.
Well, I think that's also because of technology. I think that it was easier back in the day to get away with this stuff. You didn't have the internet, you didn't have every media outlet in the world chasing you. So if you had affairs and you had multiple women on the side, who was going to know? I mean, we have so many famous people in the past. JFK is a perfect example. I mean, he was a philanderer, but did the public know at the time? No. Right. And if we had these sources of technology, I can guarantee you it would have been the biggest scandal in America.
But how can it be a medical problem if it only applies to married people? If Tiger Woods was single, he'd just be a player and we'd all be laughing about his behavior. The only problem is if these guys are married. If they were single, nobody would care. I mean, they're so greedy that they want to be married and have the family and the wife and the relationship, and they also want to have the player lifestyle. That's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm not arguing about whether these guys are sex addicts or not. I think the bigger problem is that many of these men are incredibly narcissistic. They all thought that they were invincible. Whether they're sex addicts or not almost has become irrelevant because they all thought that they were so invincible that they would never get caught by their wives and or the public, and they acted out.